Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ruben. I'm from Buenos Aires in Argentina. And today is a very important day. It's a very special day. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot. I'm sorry, I'm not from Argentina. You have to excuse me. I'm actually from Israel. Yes, I'm from a small city near to Tel Aviv. It's called Ashdod. You know Ashdod? Okay. So we are going to have a lot of fun today. It's going to be a very cool presentation. We're going to talk about accents. And in order to do this, I have to talk in my natural native accent, which is not Israeli. It's not Argentinian, but I'm actually from the United States. Sorry for deceiving you, but we're going to get into this. You guys maybe had to expect something, right? No? This is what I do. My name is Ruben Adery. I live in Los Angeles, and I'm a dialect coach, pronunciation coach. If you have no idea what that is, you might imagine. I help high performers and professionals, really anybody who's working towards that highest level of speaking, pronunciation, in 5 different languages. And I'm going to share with you today the techniques, the principles, the basic process of that process of acquiring a native accent. In fact, we're actually going to use foreign accents to help you sound even more natural in that language, if that makes any sense. Well, I'll walk you through it a little bit and we'll see if we can learn a couple things. But today, I invite you to listen. I invite you to listen to funny accents that I might throw at you. I invite you to listen to each other when you are exchanging, and especially in English. We have lots of different accents in English. And I invite you to play the great language game. It's the one where you pass someone on the street, right? You have like 3 seconds to hear their language or their accent, and you have to guess where they're from, right? It's the best game. We play it naturally, but I think of the great language game because of this website. Maybe you play this online where you can hear a little snippet audio of a language and try to guess what language it is. And sometimes it's easy. For many languages, we're pretty used to hearing them all over, but sometimes it's hard to decipher. And even more fun when it's an accent in English, because it's a little bit more hidden. It's hard to tell exactly where someone's from based on the accent. You could regionalize it, but maybe today you'll have some more insight and it'll be a little bit more fun. We're going to play around with the accents. So I invite you to have fun at the same time. I was influenced by voice actors as a child. There's no doubt. People like Robin Williams, people like Jim Carrey, even Adam Sandler, if you're familiar, have kind of shaped my childhood. Also, I won't deny that my father is kind of interesting. He was born in Morocco and grew up in Israel. So I do have a little Israeli connection, but no Latin roots. Sadly, had to learn that on my own. But voices and accents were always a part of me growing up, of my life. And even though my father had kind of a funny accent, he didn't like when I made fun of it. So that was something I had to kind of do privately. And it wasn't until later on in my life when I ended up going to study Spanish at the University of Michigan and linguistics as well. I also traveled and lived in Argentina. So there's some time there that I spent listening to accents. And it wasn't until after I even returned from travels and started teaching English to foreigners, people who are learning as a second language, and I would imitate the students in my class. It was fun, and we all learned something, and so that's why, and it brought me here today, so that's even better. So I would have students who would call me Ruben. Oh, Ruben, number 1 teacher, Ruben, my friend, Ruben, always Ruben. And I don't know what that was about. I still don't speak Arabic, but I can learn something about just the way that they pronounce my name, Ruben. Japanese students even, who would call me Ruben, very good teacher, Ruben. I like to study with Ruben on Saturday afternoon. Very good. It's hard when you don't really look the part, but the voice, it helps, it carries on. So I ended up not only imitating students, but I was able to pinpoint exactly what it was that I was doing. The students would ask, you sound exactly like him. How did you do that? And I would think to myself, I would say, well, he does that R thing, he does the vowel switch. And slowly this became a process that I could replicate. and share with all the students and eventually share with all of you. So I didn't really think this would become part of my career, I didn't know this was a job, like imitate accents for a living. It's kind of what I do, and it's also something that I can share with lots of people. So it's a really important thing. And so I help now people from all over, privately, one-on-one, and trying to figure out what it is that's different between their accent, their native accent, and the target accent. These are really, really hard things to do. You might not have an ear for the language, but some things are so exaggerated that they stand out, you can't avoid them. So I get to do this every day for fun, for a job. And it's really great. I even make videos online, YouTube, under linguistics pronunciation, and have fun the same way. Only the best stuff makes it to a video, of course. You have to trial and error and test it out before you can actually do a Japanese accent in front of a big audience, So that's a big part. I invite you guys to listen today. We're going to do lots of actual analyses, mostly focusing on Spanish and Brazilian Portuguese accents. I know that Spanish is quite popular. Do we have Spanish speakers, native Spanish speakers in the room today? A few. Argentinian Spanish, anyone? Yeah, nice. Brazilian Portuguese speakers? Nice, all right, chilling in the back, all right. Very nice, so this will be helpful. Even if you're not a speaker of these languages, you will absolutely be able to benefit from these tips. The process is the same throughout. It's just a matter of finding something that we can use as an example. So before we get into the pronunciation analyses, I want to remind you of one thing that's maybe obvious to you, but maybe not as we're learning, and maybe you're going through these new languages and the process isn't quite clear. We're focusing on pronunciation and accents, but there is inevitably things that will stand out to you with regard to syntax, right? Word order, things like prepositional use. Someone mistakes something in your native language. This doesn't have to be English, so anyone speaking your language, if they make a mistake and it's pretty obvious, you must realize that that is going to be coming from their native language. And so if you see, for example, when I was in Israel, I have my family, they would always say, Ruben, enjoy from the weekend, okay? Have a good time, enjoy from the weekend. It's going to be okay. I'm like, enjoy from the weekend? All right, that must be something Hebrew, right? Enjoy from the weekend. So now I write that down, like a diligent language student, right? And that's a little bit more obvious. I guess everybody can do this stuff. You don't have to have an ear for the language in order to do this. So listen for just things that stand out. It might also be a Spanish speaker who would say, I had to ask to another person. I had to ask to him, to her. And we don't say that in English. You just, okay, figure that out. Or my laptop, I don't know what accent this is actually. She's not here. Obviously, aspects of gender as well as other grammar things are going to stand out. Pay attention to these things. They're so useful. And as you're having conversations even this week, write these down. Pay attention to these. They're going to be really helpful. But not what we're talking about today, unfortunately. This is a pronunciation analysis activity. You can do this with any language, from any language to any language. So we look at sounds as a big component of it. But rhythm is another thing that many people don't really think about. Rhythm of course, deals with stress. You might have heard of syllabic stress, but we also talk about rhythm within the whole sentence. Which words are important to stress and which words are not? What happens to the words that aren't stressed? Because they tend to change a lot. They either shorten in duration, sometimes get removed completely. And if you don't pay attention to that, if you just see the spelling as the same spelling from your language, it becomes really difficult to break those habits. I wouldn't say that the whole process is just imitating foreign accents. A lot of it has to do with habit change and recreating habits, forming the right habits, and breaking certain ones that we identify as a little bit difficult to understand or difficult to communicate with. Linking is the third thing here that you might not consider as important. What I'm talking about is how you connect two words that go together, right? We know that when you're talking in a foreign language, and even in your native language, it's very common to push words together. In fact, it's probably the reason why you have trouble understanding people at a beginner or lower intermediate level. They're talking too fast. I can't figure out where the word breaks are. And if that's the case, then this is probably a language that has intense linking. And what we want to focus on, what we will focus on, is the sound that comes at the end of one word and how that connects to the beginning sound of the second word. So this happens with words that have semantic connections. Prepositions go with their nouns. Verbs go with their direct objects, and this is just the fundamental part. But there's also aspects of intonation, right? Tonal patterns. There's body language, facial expressions, and hand gestures, and all these different languages that are really, really important to consider too. Not to mention, word choice, slang, trying to fit in. You can look the part, you can sound the part, but all those little details are going to add up. So let's get right into it.